The future, where VR MMOs were supposed to be humanity's peak achievement. Fully immersive, ultra-realistic worlds where dreams come true. Except the developers made it too realistic. You could feel hunger, fatigue, and even pain. So basically, they invented taxes in video game form. Naturally, the genre died faster than your will to live on Monday mornings. Fast forward 10 years later, we meet our hero, Hiroshi, who looks like the kind of guy whose life tutorial never ended. His teacher tries to convince him to rejoin the track team, but Hiroshi's already running from responsibilities. After school, he meets his friend Takafumi, and the two have the kind of deep, life-changing talk about wanting to go home and play video games. Truly philosophers of our age. But apparently, life's RNG hates Hiroshi because two thugs mug him for cash on the way home. Still, our boy keeps his spirits up because today's the day he finally gets his copy of Finalizing Quest. Except, surprise, he's 1,000 yen short. Skull. Imagine grinding for weeks, only to fail the final boss, the cashier. Dejected, he stumbles into some sketchy store called Kisaragi Games, which already sounds like the kind of place where your soul gets DLC'd. The store clerk, a mysterious woman with definitely knows dark secrets, energy, starts ranting about how all long-running games suck now. Hiroshi agrees, but doesn't care. Man just wants his Finalizing Quest. Instead, she offers him a special game for 10,000 yen. Naturally, Hiroshi buys it, because plot convenience. The game? Kiwame Quest. And guess what? It's not the game he wanted. He tries to return it, but the clerk sweet-talks him into keeping it by saying it's an adult game. And Hiroshi's brain immediately blue-screened. When he gets home, his sister Keed scolds him for existing, as siblings do, before he locks himself in his room to try the game. Suddenly, he's greeted by some glowing angelic woman who tells him he's the chosen hero who must save the world of Aberdeen. Because of course he is. Then he wakes up in-game and is blown away by the graphics. The smell, the touch, even the pain feels real. Because who doesn't want that? A cheerful NPC named Alicia shows up and calls him by his username, Hero, claiming she's his childhood friend. And that's when Hiroshi realizes he's in deep trouble. Alicia's brother Martin comes in, acting like the resident tutorial boss, and gives Hiroshi an apple, which he compliments for its realistic texture. Yeah, bro's reviewing fruit in 4D now. Hiroshi decides to leave town to fulfill his hero quest, but everyone freaks out like he just confessed to tax evasion. Apparently, leaving town equals a crime called exurbance. Basically, they don't want him getting folded by goblins 5 minutes into the game. Martin tries to talk sense into him, but Hiroshi, being the gamer that he is, challenges him to a duel. The result? Hiroshi gets absolutely deleted. But in his rage, he tackles Martin while he's holding a knife and accidentally kills him. Congratulations, Hiroshi. You just beat the tutorial by committing manslaughter. Party popper. Alicia freaks out and chases him out of the house like a boss from Resident Evil, while Hiroshi runs for his virtual life. And just when things couldn't get weirder, the mysterious game store lady reappears, this time as a tiny fairy named Riona. Turns out she's his in-game support. Oh, and that collar he's wearing? It shows his new title, Best Friend Killer, Skull. Yup. After the shocking incident with Martin, Hero learns from Riona that his new title, Best Friend Killer, can't be changed or erased. Since the game mimics real life, there's no restart or reload option. Everything saves automatically. The only way to start over would be to buy a new console, but that would cost 90,000 yen. Riona even offers one from her own shop, but for a ridiculous 120,000 yen. Frustrated, Hero asks for a refund, but she refuses, saying her store has a strict no-refund policy. Trying to help, Riona suggests finding another player named Jinji. 10 years ago, when the game first launched, Jinji also killed his best friend, so he might understand Hero's situation. Before heading out, Riona tells Hero to check his pocket. He finds 30 gold, and they decide to buy cheap clothes since rumors about Martin's death have already spread. Now wanted for murder, Hero's prices are inflated everywhere he goes, so he ends up paying more than he should for basic clothes. By dusk, they head toward the casino, where Jinji is known to hang out because of his gambling habit. On the way, Riona explains more about the city of Ted. But before they can reach the casino, Alicia suddenly appears in a dark alley, furious and armed with the same knife used to kill her brother. She tries to kill Hero, forcing him to run for his life. Later, while resting near a cabin, Hero gains a new title, but, tired of everything, he tries to log out, only to find he can't because he's still in combat. Alicia shows up again and attacks, cutting his hand. Riona blinds her in one eye, giving Hero a chance to escape. Once he's safe, Hero finally manages to log out, exhausted but relieved to be alive. The next day, Riona messages Hero, asking him to play again. At school, Hero talks to his friend Takafumi about the game, but Takafumi dismisses video games as childish and tells him to face his problems in real life. Back home, Hero argues with his sister Keed, then logs back into the game. Inside, he notices his hand wound is still there. He tries to heal it with a medicinal herb, but doesn't know how. Soon, a burly man approaches him, calling Hiro a new NPC. Hiro quickly realizes this is Jinji. Jinji helps him heal his wound, and the two go to the casino to talk. Jinji explains how 10 years ago, he killed his best friend Enrique and another friend using judo moves. He also mentions a player named Kimui, the only person to ever finish the game, whose title was something truly impressive. Hiro says it sounds way better than his own. Jinji laughs and calls Hiro's title heartless. Then, pretending to help, Jinji exposes Hiro's identity by shouting that the best friend killer is there, calling the city guards on him. Jinji suddenly announces to everyone inside the casino that the wanted fugitive, Hiro, is there. Shocked and terrified, Hiro freezes in place. Jinji calmly tells him that if he can make it through the upcoming interrogation, he'll be cleared of all charges. Before Hiro can react, the city guards rush in and declare he's under arrest. Panicking, Hiro tries to run, but Jinji swiftly takes him down with a judo shoulder throw and restrains him. The guards thank Jinji for his help and reward him with a small bag of coins. Before parting ways, Jinji gives Hiro one last piece of advice. Whatever you do, don't confess to killing Martin, or you'll rot in jail. He then reveals he once served 13 years himself and is currently out on parole. Outside the casino, Hiro is paraded through the city streets by the guards. Crowds gather to watch, whispering and mocking him as the so-called murderer. When the guards pause, people begin throwing things at him. Desperate, Hiro shouts that he's actually the hero, but the guards dismiss his words as the ramblings of a madman. In the crowd, he spots Alicia silently watching from afar, and in despair, he begs the guards to just take him to jail. In his cell, Hiro is told he'll remain there until preparations for his trial are complete. Frustrated, he tries to log out of the game, but can't. A message appears. You cannot log out during an active event. Hours pass. Hungry and needing to pee, Hiro curses the game's realism. When he finally approaches the filthy toilet, something terrifying happens. The ghost of Martin appears before him. Martin accuses Hiro of killing him. Hiro insists it was an accident, but Martin demands he recall the promise they made under the apple tree. Hiro can't remember, triggering the Martin time event. It's then that Hiro recalls seeing Jinji talking to invisible people earlier, ghosts of the friends he killed. Martin grips Hiro's shoulder, coughing up blood and saying, "I lived longer," before fading away. Soon after, a young girl named Mizurisa appears and releases Hiro from his cell. She leads him to a private room, and Hiro completely misreads the situation, thinking it's some kind of adult event. He couldn't be more wrong. It's actually a torture event, and Mizurisa, an inquisitor with a sadistic streak, gleefully prepares to saw off his limbs. Just as things get dark, Riona finally arrives. She apologizes for being late, because she was busy watching Castle in the sky again. Hiro can't believe it, but she tells him she can't actually stop the event. She can only cheer him on. If Hiro can survive the torture, he'll be cleared. Overwhelmed with fear and pressure, Hiro accidentally wets himself. To his horror, Mizurisa finds it beautiful and praises him for it, before lifting her saw to begin. But at the last second, a guard bursts in, announcing that Tesla, the head of the city guard, wants to see Hiro immediately. Miraculously, Hiro is spared. Not only did he avoid torture, but he also discovered a new hidden feature that hadn't been triggered in the game's 10-year history, earning him a new in-game title. Finally released from his restraints, Hiro immediately logs out of the game and swears to never play again. So after narrowly escaping the most disturbing adult event ever, our boy Hiroshi wakes up in the real world, screaming like he just escaped a Saw movie. First thing he does, checks if he actually peed himself in real life. We see how Hiroshi's entire tragic career started on a sunny track field. Scouts were watching, pro athletes were in attendance, and this was his moment to shine. Even his rival, Tatsuya Moriguchi, the guy who beat him before, shows up. Big day, right? But before the race, Hiroshi meets former pro racer turned sports writer Mike McLaughlin, who tells him, "I'm looking forward to your race." Hiroshi, being the overexcited golden retriever he is, shouts, "I'll do my best," completely forgetting that his bladder is still at critical overflow. The race starts, and immediately, it's a disaster. He trips, faceplants, the scouts gasp, and right in front of everyone, his teacher, his best friend, and probably God himself. Hiroshi pees himself on the track. That's right, man didn't just lose the race, he lost his dignity, his dreams, and probably his sponsorships too. And that, my friends, is the legendary moment that made him quit racing forever. Back in the present, he's now arguing with his sister Keed, because apparently, the sound of him crying in VR all night isn't exactly relaxing background noise. When he tells her he's quitting the game too, she absolutely snaps. She's like, "You always quit when things get hard." Honestly, she's right. The only thing Hiroshi doesn't quit is wetting himself. Later, he drags his sorry self to Riona's game shop to sell the cursed game back to her. But Riona, the professional manipulator she is, convinces him not to. Instead, she shows him a walkthrough site made by Soichiro Kimui, the only man who ever beat Kiwame Quest. The tips on that site? Completely useless. Stuff like trust your instincts and believe in yourself. Bro, he couldn't even believe in his bladder control. Frustrated, but somehow motivated again, because apparently he doesn't learn lessons, Hiroshi decides to go back into the game. Yup, he's ready to suffer again. Back in Kiwame Quest, he's led to the head of the guards, Tesla. With Tesla's help, Hiro was cleared of Martin's murder, but the villagers still treated him like a criminal and even threw rocks at him. Later, Hiro went to the vocational information center to try to earn money, but his complaining made the woman at the reception angry. It turned out she had opened the office using money she earned from underground activities in her youth, and Hiro had mocked her life. Riona suggested Hiro borrow money from Jinji, a real player, but the plan failed. Hiro and Jinji got into an argument, which escalated into a duel. Their fight was interrupted when Martin and the ghosts of Jinji's childhood friends appeared and scolded them. Riona then tricked Jinji into paying because he lost the duel, even though they had never agreed on this. Next, they went to Melissa's item shop to buy smoke bombs. Hiro was surprised to learn that 2 bombs cost 50 gold, and then he realized they only had 60 gold. Riona got angry at Jinji for not having enough money, even though she had scammed him herself. Hiro also had to pay an extra 10 gold fee to enter the shop, leaving him broke. Eventually, Hiro and Riona returned to the house where Hiro had accidentally killed Martin to try to retrieve his sword. There, he was ambushed by his former childhood friend, Alicia, who had become a bloodthirsty Yandere. Hiro tried to throw a smoke bomb, but it didn't explode. Riona told him he was supposed to light the fuse first, and Hiro complained. Alicia attacked, but Mizurisa suddenly appeared and saved Hiro, declaring that he was now her prey. Alicia is furious and demands answers from Mizurisa for stopping her from taking revenge on Hiro for killing Martin. Mizurisa calmly explains that Hiro was cleared of the murder by Tesla, and Riona adds that Tesla has absolute judicial authority in the city. So if Alicia tries to harm him, she would be breaking the law. Hiro, relieved, is curious how Mizurisa even knew where he was. She admits she had been following him just to interact with him. Hiro is annoyed, and when he wonders if she has some tracking skill, Riona suggests asking Mizurisa to join their party. Hiro gets excited, until Mizurisa proudly confesses that she tracked him using his urine scent. Riona confirms it's true, explaining that the game prizes realism and the scent is very strong. Hiro, understandably grossed out, nearly gets attacked by Alicia again, but Mizurisa saves him just in time. Even knowing Hiro is cleared, Alicia pretends she doesn't care and attacks anyway. Mizurisa challenges her, and the two start fighting. During the battle, Alicia drops her knife, and Hiro throws it out the window, but Alicia pulls out 2 more and dual wields them. Mizurisa then admits her real reason for following Hiro. She wanted to torture him and see another accident happen. She continues fighting Alicia, but gets overpowered. In a moment of desperation, Hiro remembers advice from Soichiro Kimui's online walkthrough. Trying the advice, he awkwardly gropes Alicia, fails, and gets kicked in the chest. As he lays on the ground, Martin's ghost appears. Hiro thinks quickly, confesses his love to Alicia, and tells her to enjoy her life. This completely flusters Alicia, and she runs off. Riona cheers, saying Hiro overcame another challenge. Hiro, on the other hand, realizes he's been playing the game all wrong. He's been treating it like a normal game, not as realistically as possible. Next, Hiro goes to the Kinura tree and calls out to Martin. Martin's ghost appears, and they briefly talk. Hiro takes Martin's hand, and a flashback shows them as kids with Alicia, happy and carefree. Finally, Hiro remembers the promise Martin made. They would be friends forever. With that, Hiro and Martin reconcile, and Martin's ghost peacefully passes on. Hiro gains a new title, but his moment of victory is interrupted. He notices smoke rising from several parts of the city, signaling that new challenges await. So, Hiroshi reaches the city and, surprise, surprise, everything's on fire. Genius move, Hiro try to ask random panicked citizens what's going on. They immediately push him to the ground, because apparently, even in video games, you get karma for asking stupid questions. He basically tosses Hiro some instructions and bails, leaving our hero to struggle with a whetstone while the screams of citizens echo in the background. After what must have been hours of futile scrubbing, Hiro decides, yeah, I'll just fight the goblins myself. because that's always a good idea. Riona immediately facepalms and tells him goblins are as strong as ogres, and the probability of him dying is 120%. Oh, and if he dies, not only does he die, but his game and console break permanently. Also, apparently, multiple lawsuits exist because Keywame Quest is, in her words, the ultimate shitty game. Thanks for the heads up. Left with no better ideas, Riona wisely suggests watching Kamui's walkthrough. But of course, Hiro can't resist peeking outside, because of course, he's Hiro. He spots a little girl being attacked by a goblin. Does he listen to Riona? No. Does he wait for the guards? Nope. He's hero of the century in his own mind. 3 city guards show up to help the girl. They die. All of them. Meanwhile, Hiro's like, He finally runs in and saves the girl, but she immediately reminds him of his sister Keed. Cute emotional panic. More goblins show up, one knocks him aside, and somehow, our genius unlocks a lightning fast running skill while chasing the girl. Because of course he does. They finally reach the city center. Hiro and the girl are cornered by goblins, until Tesla shows up like a total boss, slicing the goblins with his lightning extreme sword attack. Riona explains who Tesla is, because apparently Hiroshi still can't figure that out. Amos and a few city guard arrive too. Tesla orders them to take the girl home and put out the fires, while Hiroshi, receives a new game title and is offered a mercenary spot in the city guard. Naturally, he says yes like it's a life-changing promotion, ignoring Riona's concerned face. Hiroshi logs out, probably proud of himself, and the next day at school, he has a deep conversation with Takafumi about Keywame Quest. Somehow, he actually likes the game. Late that day, he watches Kamui's walkthrough again and learns his route had a survival chance of 0.1%. Yeah, he beat a route that basically should have killed him instantly. Considering his options on whether or not he should quit the game, Hiroshi watches the walkthrough video by Kamui on how to progress the event line he had chosen. Kamui immediately chastises the viewer on the choice, but details that if you've achieved the best friend killer, the chances of success are greater. The next video in this walkthrough is blocked by a password and Hiroshi inputs it. Once again, Kamui chastises the player, but reveals that the odds have increased by 0.4% and details how to meet the standards of those odds. However, as words of warning, Kamui states that if you do follow through with his advice, it may break the player. On the other hand, it's said that if you're able to complete the SS-ranked Goblin Quest, you'll uncover the mysterious truth behind Ted. After saying some final words of advice from Kamui, the video ends, and Hiroshi reflects on how to progress with his predicament. Soon after this, Hiroshi heads to his sister Keed's room and gives her his second custard pudding and tells her that he's going to continue playing the game until he's reached a good stopping point. The reason behind his motivation is because he doesn't want to give up halfway on something like when he failed the track race that ruined his life. Keed, not caring about her brother's resolve, simply tells him off and slams her door shut. With that out of the way, Hiroshi enters the game and meets with Tesla and is guided by him to Queen Govern's mansion. Just then, Riona, who tells Hiro that she's watched the video for the quest line he's chosen and scolds him for not watching it beforehand. Eventually, the group reaches the Govern's mansion, and after a brief introduction, Queen Govern embraces and wishes Hiro good luck on his goblin-slaying quest. Later at the training grounds, Tesla introduces Hiro to the soldiers as a mercenary, as well as 2 other hired mercs, Granada and Palu. Continuing his explanation of the situation, Tesla states that the goblin's goal is to attack and destroy Queen Govern's mansion. It's believed that the goblins figure if that's destroyed, then the whole city will fall. Once his explanation is over, Tesla leaves the scene, and then Hiro, Palu, and Granada are taken care of by a guard by the name of Bob to their rooms. At Hiro's room, he talks with Riona, and once he's fitted with his armor, Bob arrives in his room. He informs Hiro that he'll be led back to the training grounds to start his sword and martial arts exercises. Although, Bob notes that Hiro isn't that muscular and asks if he was a covert solider in the past. Disregarding that, Bob leads the mercs to the training ground where they're introduced to the instructor Amos. After Amos' introduction, a solider named Kathy approaches Hiro and tells him she was the solider who led the little girl home. Before the two could shake each other's hand, Amos stops them and immediately spars with Hiro. The spar between the two begins, and Hiro is easily overpowered by Amos. However, Granada easily overpowers Amos, causing him to retire for the day. Hiro then tries to approach Bob and Kathy to eat some lunch with him, but they brush him off. At the mess hall, Hiro eats his lunch alone, noting that he's been ostracized by his peers. On day 2 of Hiro's merc training, he arrives on the training ground, and Amos belittles Hiro's talent and has him do practice swings. As he does this, Granada mentions that Hiro killed his best friend and tries to start a fight with him. However, Kathy intervenes, asking Hiro to practice with her. From there, Hiro learns some handy tips and tricks on how to handle his sword. The following day, a mock match is held and Hiro is pitted against Granada and easily loses against his opponent. This makes Hiro realize that his life in the real world isn't any different than his life in the game world. Hiro sits in the training yard, sulking with Riona perched on his shoulder, lamenting how tough the game has become. Riona suggests he report his struggles to the consultation office, but when he does, the worker basically tells him it's all his fault. Apparently, joining the mercenaries with zero skills was a bad idea, and quitting is suggested as the solution. Feeling frustrated, Hiro tries to hide his emotions when Kathy approaches him. She asks if he's okay, and Hiro fibs that he is. Kathy explains that the consultation office mainly handles illnesses and injuries, and then shares that she's a religious person who prays for guidance. Riona suggests they visit the local church to trigger a quest event. When they arrive, the priestess purifies Hiro by dumping a tub of cold water on him. Riona cheerfully claims this is good luck, assuring Hiro that tomorrow will be better. On day 4 of mercenary training, Hiro is still easily beaten in sword practice by Granada. Afterward, Granada and Palu try to extort money from him. Following Riona's advice, Hiro goes after the weaker-looking Palu, but unsurprisingly, he loses again. Kathy tries to get Amos to intervene, but Granada and Palu act innocent and pressure her to side with them. Sadly, she caves, saying she's not Hiro's friend, and walks away with them. Riona laughs, pointing out how realistic the game is, while Hiro feels miserable, but Riona promises to help him with her fairy magic. Later, chaos erupts in the mercenary base. Granada loses his grandmother-made boots in the sewage, and later his sword ends up in the latrine. He angrily blames Hiro, but the other mercs defend Hiro, proving he wasn't responsible. Meanwhile, Maria the nurse screams over her missing panties, which are then discovered in Granada's bag. The other mercs gang up on Granada for his overreaction, and in frustration, he tries to drag Palu with him when leaving, but Palu refuses, leaving Granada heartbroken. Amos informs the group of Granada's departure, and Tesla arrives with a letter revealing that Palu orchestrated the pranks and blamed Amos. Tensions rise, but Tesla asks the mercs for their opinion on Amos' competence. Kathy speaks up, confessing how Amos and others treated Hiro poorly during the bullying. As a result, Amos is relieved of his position. That night, Riona reveals that she was behind the string of incidents all along. Hiro gains a new, diabolical title as a reward, and Riona hints she'll explain why she's searching for someone to clear the game. Riona spills the tea. 10 years ago, she asked Kimui out, and he rejected her because of her bust size. Yep, that's the entire reason she's obsessed with having someone beat the game and marry them, so they can flip Kimui off at the wedding. Hiroshi is shocked that this is literally her motivation, but Riona confirms, dead serious. Hiro reflects on her bizarre reasoning from atop a barracks when Tesla shows up. After a quick apology for Amos and Granada's past behavior, they discuss the upcoming Goblin Raid. Hiro almost slips that he knows about it from a walkthrough, but luckily backtracks. Tesla asks if he plans to leave the city after the raid, and Hiro reluctantly confirms. Tesla, amused, says he'll consider joining him, which makes Hiro immediately panic that he might die and decide he'd better re-watch the walkthrough. The next morning, Hiroshi wakes up to find his sister Keed in his room, staring at him. Concerned for him, or so Hiro thinks. Keed quickly denies any worry, sparking a heated argument before storming off. Frustrated, Hiro returns to watching Kimui's walkthrough to learn how to survive the Goblin Quest. Finally, Day 6 arrives, the Goblin Raid. Hiro and the mercs line up in the courtyard. Tesla introduces 2 new recruits, Alicia and Mizurisa. Riona cheers, calling it Hiro's harem, which he absolutely does not appreciate. Before the raid begins, Tesla has the mercs check the city for anyone disobeying evacuation orders. Hiro is confused when nothing happens, and Riona guesses it's a pre-event scenario. Tesla assigns Hiro to watch the Eastern District with Alicia and Mizurisa. Hiro protests, especially about Alicia, who wants to kill him for his past misdeeds, but Tesla assures him it's a chance to patch things up. While patrolling the city, Mizurisa expresses concern about Alicia's presence, and Hiro's complaints make Mizurisa cry. Meanwhile, Alicia casually stops a purse thief by chopping off his right hand. When Hiro tries to return the purse, the owner faints at the sight of the severed hand. More thefts erupt across the city, and the trio discovers the instigator is at the casino. Hiro rescues hostages, including Jinji, who is about to be sold as a slave, while Mizurisa and Alicia handle the thugs. Shockingly, Jinji reveals he orchestrated the chaos to distract the guards and steal leftover loot. Hiro tries to confront him, but Alicia KOs Jinji with a single punch. All perpetrators are arrested. Jinji compliments Alicia, admits he's too old to change, and Hiro gets a nod of approval from Tesla for a job well done, even though he knows Alicia and Mizurisa did all the work. Just as Hiro tries to brush off the praise, the alarm signals the goblin's arrival. And, of course, Hiro's bladder acts up. He rushes to the bathroom, only to find a goblin peering in through the stall crack, causing him to freak out. As a goblin lunges at Hiro, he panics and calls out to Riona for help. But of course, she's too busy to care. Thankfully, Mizurisa, who's been stalking Hiro to the bathroom, swoops in and slays the goblin. Hiro begrudgingly accepts her help, though he's not thrilled. Then things get weird. Mizurisa inspects Hiro's sword and, for reasons that make zero sense, stabs his left knee. Hiro screams in pain. Mizurisa gets some sick joy out of it and tries to coax him into letting her torture him. Luckily, Alicia arrives just in time and stops the scene. Mizurisa, furious that her alone time is ruined, tries to start a fight with Alicia, but Hiro yells at them both to focus and run to find Tesla. As they dash through the city, Hiro complains that Riona is distracted by her split ends instead of helping. Naturally, his stomach starts acting up, triggering anxiety, pain reminiscent of a past humiliating incident. Riona laughs at his misery, but then tries to cheer him up with a motivational speech. Feeling slightly better, Hiro and Riona head north to regroup with Tesla. At the city center, Tesla and his soldiers are surrounded by a horde of goblins. Mizurisa and Alicia arrive to help, making the fight manageable. At least until Bob and Kathy report that some goblins have breached the southern gate. The lead goblin, there's a beast called One Eye, one Tesla knows well. Tesla confronts One Eye while Mizurisa tries to help, but gets incapacitated by a single kick to the stomach. Alicia jumps in, fighting on equal terms with Tesla and the monstrous goblin. At the climax, a cage arrives containing One Eye's children. Tesla's grim strategy to keep the city safe by holding goblin kids hostage. Queen Govern, pleased with the results, reveals the city's dark secret, keeping goblin children captive to control the city. Now, with the stakes revealed and Hiro caught in the chaos, One Eye turns his wrath toward him. If you want, our fearless protagonist, master of panic, king of awkward interactions, and apparently the human embodiment of why did I even start this game? So Hiro's facing off against Tesla, right? The guy whose special move is literally called Lightning Extreme, because why have a normal attack when you can have a name that sounds like a rejected anime opening theme? Hiro, of course, is terrified because he's Hiro. Alicia, the girl who literally tried to murder him before, jumps in to take the hit. Her dead brother Martin told her in a dream to forgive him. Then she happily dies in Hiro's arms while confessing how thrilled she is that Hiro wants to marry her one day. And yes, Hiroshi doesn't even know whether to cry or just panic harder. After some comforting pep talk from Riona, Hiro decides to fight Tesla. Somehow, against all logic, Hiro actually fends off Tesla's attacks for a bit. But then, of course, his sword breaks. Classic Hiro. Just as he's about to get curb stomped, he gets magically transported to the Kinura tree to hang out with Martin, who basically does all the emotional heavy lifting while Hiro, well, exists. Back in the present, Hiro's broken sword suddenly turns into a magical sword and smashes Tesla's blade. And Hiro, he still loses the fight, feeling demotivated.